Video blogging, we're always having so much fun. Solving lots of mysteries and getting shit done. Video blogging. Yeah. So today, I thought I would talk about my top 5 favorite genre shows and my top 5 favorite comedy shows. You can't even see my hand. You probably don't even know what number I'm talking about. It's 5. I don't know if you've ever tried to make a video on iMovie, but the main problem is that you see your face so you feel like it's a mirror, but it's actually not, So you keep thinking that you can move like you're in a mirror, but you can't. You're actually going the opposite. Anyway, that's what happens. What are we going to talk about? Oh, right. Okay. So 2 disclaimers. 2. The first one is that I'm probably not going to be talking about any classy TV shows because I don't like them. I remember that a few years ago Mad Men was my favorite show and I liked it more than anything, but now I'm not interested. And I don't know, I could make up a cool political reason, which would be I don't relate to shows that are just about men treating women badly and how cool they are. But I don't know what it is. I'm just not interested in them anymore. The other disclaimer is that I just finished watching Hannibal and Sleepy Hollow, and I really loved both of those shows, but because I just watched them, I feel I can't really rank them among my favorites because I just don't really know. I feel I don't have the long view yet. Okay, so here is my list of the best genre shows. The best show ever is The Fades, which is a pretty short-lived British TV show from 2011 about a boy that wets the bed and his best friend, and they're really geeky, and then the boy has to save the world and there's zombies. So I like The Fades because it kind of to me it's exactly what a TV show should be, which to me I feel TV shows should be about feelings but also genre. So because I feel I feel the best TV show will deal with feelings in a hyper realistic and really powerful way, and then on top of it they can add life or death stakes or just really strange aspects that are usually found in fantasy and horror, but those things won't be the entire thing. They'll kind of amplify the emotional content, and I feel that's what The Fades is which is why I like it so much. Another show I really like is Being Human, which is a little bit the same way, but let's see, I would think of it as more comedic, although The Fades is also funny, but I feel the supernatural stuff in The Fades isn't intended to be funny. Being Human is a really good show, which at times I feel is really sad about, it's also a British show. I want to say it started in 2008 or 2007 or something like that. Anyway, it's about a werewolf, a vampire, and a ghost who are all friends, and as you can tell from the title, it's basically about how they want to be humans and sort of keep having, I don't know, human values even though they're no longer human. So that's pretty sad, and I think it's a good through line. Something I really like about the show is I feel it doesn't really do the protagonist centered morality that most shows about vampires do. I don't know, I feel the main vampire feels it's sort of okay that he's killed people because he's nice or something, but I feel the show repeatedly calls him on that and ultimately addresses the fact that this is ridiculous. So I like that. What else? I also listed Pushing Daisies, and my notes for it are just perfect. It's basically the best show ever. I just I don't even know what to say about it. I watched it for the first time in 2009, and I recently watched it this fall, and I was just wow, nothing's ever going to be better than Pushing Daisies. It's a show about a guy who can touch dead people and animals and food and bring them back to life. And then if he touches them again, they die again. So his problem is that he brings somebody back to life that he's in love with, so they have to have a relationship and never touch each other, which is I feel it's a pretty good way to have an official couple in the show that is like together for the whole show and doesn't really like have significant breakups or anything, and have their relationship still be like very dynamic because they have to deal with the fact that they can't touch each other. The show is also like extremely clean, well, sexually, while also being like really dirty if you pay attention when they're talking about how they have sex. I don't know. Anyway, it's like a mystery show where he uses his power to like solve mysteries. Which, I mean, I don't know. It sounds okay. It probably doesn't sound like it's like the greatest show ever, but I feel like, I don't know, it's just like, it's beautifully stylized. It's like perfect to watch. Everybody in the cast is like perfect. There's like musical numbers, and it's the best. There's also like a dog that lives forever, which is like, you know, I mean, that's all that I want, and I feel like that's all that most people want. There's also a lot of food. It's good. Oh, let's see. I also listed Skins, which you might be saying is not a genre show, and that's true, but I feel like it is. And the reason I feel like it is because it has the same quality that I feel like really good genre shows have, where kind of like the genre elements are like amplifying the emotions. So Skins is a show that follows like a lot of different like casts of teenage characters, which are like pretty diverse, and they at least try to focus on the characters that are not like white, straight, normal characters, which I appreciate, even though they usually fail at that. But I feel like the show kind of like reaches genre heights in the way that it tries to like, I don't know, kind of like amplify the feelings of the teenagers and make them more real by using kind of fantastical elements or going in like weird directions where like the episodes will sometimes feel more like horror movies or comedies, or just like in some other way like different than you would expect like a like non-fantasy teen show to seem. Anyway, it is, of the shows I'm discussing, it's definitely the one that like went like jumped the shark the worst at the end, but I still it's still pretty good. I didn't watch the last season, and I would recommend not doing so. Lost Girl is probably like overall the worst show on this list. It's like pretty cheesy. It's got a lot of like obvious failings. I like it a lot. It's like, well, it's basically a Monster of the Week show. I would say it's like kind of similar to Angel in that like, I don't know, there's not really a limit on what kind of monsters there are. There can be pretty much anything. And it's about like a supernatural detective who's trying to like overcome her, you know, past crimes and stuff like that. But I think the thing that's probably like the most special about the show is just like the heavy emphasis on female characters and lesbian relationships. I really like the fact that, like, I feel like as a woman and also as a lesbian, I don't often like feel super comfortable watching TV shows because women are not very like central, and obviously like lesbians are definitely not very central. Like, I'm not sure if like of all the other shows on my list of like 10 shows, I feel like there's like only one other show that has like lesbian characters at all. So it's really nice to watch Lost Girl and know that like, you know, there's going to be like a lot of opportunities for women to get together, and it's not going to be a big deal. Like, I can kind of watch it and pretend that I'm like not a minority and that like being a lesbian isn't a big deal, which is kind of a cool wish fulfillment type thing. I would point out though that like if I was a trans woman or a woman of color, but especially a trans woman, I wouldn't feel so comfortable watching the show because they've done some really weird things. Now let's discuss what the worst genre show is. It's Grimm. I've been watching the show for a few years, and in the first season I think I thought it was so bad it's good. In the second season I thought it was watchable, but this season I'm just like getting really angry that the show exists, which maybe is unfair, but like it's amazing to think about the fact that like any good TV show has ever been canceled when Grimm exists. Like, I don't even want to talk about what it's about. It's about some kind of like supernatural stuff that doesn't even make sense. It's like people's faces are like turning into animal faces, and that's literally like the whole thing. and it's just like the world building is like terrible. Like the people with the animal faces just look stupid as fuck. So like most of the time they just have like human actors saying like, oh, I'm like a fox person and this is like important for some reason. And like there's never, I mean, I'm not saying like gore has to be fun, but like, you know, that's like a possible thing that could be fun about a show with a lot of murders. They could be like gory and like interesting, like on Hannibal. But I don't know, the murders are like very boring. Man, it's just an awful show. I know it seems weird to be like so angry about something just because it's bad, but it's just like, oh, it's just infuriating to me. Like all the characters are just terrible, except for the character of Monroe, who like is kind of the breakout character. He's like, oh, a wolf man. He's a wolf man who's decided that he doesn't want to kill people, so he's like, or eat, I don't think he kills animals either. Anyway, he's like a vegetarian wolf man who's like really geeky and like builds clocks and just like is kind of a hipster. And he's like a really cool character who's actually likable and interesting. Although over time, like they've actually made him like, they've just like for example, like recently they revealed that like I think like his whole family have been clockmakers, so it kind of ruined the idea that like this wolf man had become a clockmaker to try and like deal with the fact that he was like a wolf man. And like so the whole idea of like a sort of bloodthirsty wolf man just like making clocks and like being a hipster, like it doesn't even have the same like effect that it does if it's just like, oh, all of these wolf men were making clocks. Well, good job, you just like ruined it. It's really a frustration because that character was actually good and I feel like they're just making him worse, and it's like, why? That was the only good thing in the show. I don't know why I'm continuing to watch it, because it used to be like so bad it's good, I guess, right? I could make fun of it. Like my favorite scene was like last season when this girl is making out with a guy and she starts crying and she says sorry and the guy says don't worry, I like it, and he turns into a fly and he eats her eyes. So that was good, but that kind of thing isn't even happening in the show anymore. They have this like arc, which usually like an arc is a good thing, right? People are like, oh, I just don't want Monster of the Week, I want an arc. But this arc is just like this character who's like a villain and just like, but isn't even smart. She's just like petty and complains all the time. She's going to have a baby. That's like her arc. And some boring people are running around, and some other people are being boring. It's just like, it makes me so angry. I guess I shouldn't watch it anymore, but I've been watching it for a long time. I feel like I would feel weird if I didn't watch it, but I just dread watching it. I also listed Dracula, which I was trying to watch it in January, and when I started it I was really excited. I thought it was like going to be really good, but it's really difficult to watch. It's really strange to me that a show that's so like I mean, I feel like it's very like visually beautiful and the actors are very visually beautiful, but it's just like terrible to watch. Now we're going to move on to comedy shows. The first show on my list is Mr. Show, which is the whole reason that I have a comedy section, because it's basically just like my favorite show, but I feel like comparing it to like Being Human is not really going to work. It's a sketch show from the 90s with David Cross and Bob Odenkirk. It's like really perfect, and I can understand people not liking it because I guess David Cross, they're assholes, obviously. It's like not very fun to watch, like if you have a disability, some of the things and stuff like that, but I still feel like it's like pretty much the funniest thing ever and great. So yeah, Spaced is a really good show. I guess it's like kind of hard to tell if it should be on like the genre list because it's basically a big like genre mashup. It's really good. Community, kind of the same issue. I like Community because, like Being Human, it kind of questions the whole protagonist-centered morality thing. Like, I feel like a lot of the time they question, I don't know, like the main characters in the show are treated by everyone as being really special, and then like the show actually like acknowledges that, which is kind of cool. I mean, do we have bad things to say about Community? No, we're never going to have bad things to say, especially if we're autistic. It's probably just like too important to us. It's really great. The first time I watched it, I couldn't stop laughing, but like, this is boring though, because everybody knows about Community. I should talk more about Spaced, right? It's like a British show from like 2001, 2002-ish, I think. It's like with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and Edgar Wright, so good job, you guys. And Jessica Stevenson, or Jessica Hines, I can't remember. Anyway, she's the other main person in the show. It's a show where like she and Simon Pegg are living together and like pretending that they're like dating or something like that, which is like whatever. But see, now I'm making it sound worse. It's basically just like a send up of a lot of genre things while they actually like have like really mundane lives and both just like don't work or do anything. Yeah, what else? I also listed Arrested Development, which I feel like is kind of like an obvious choice. One thing I'll say about it is it's kind of soulless. Like, I don't really feel like I love it the way I love most of the shows on this list, just because like I don't think that you're supposed to like, well, I think it's like very hard to like root for any of the characters or even like care about them even as jerks. So that's like an issue with it. Well, I mean, it's not like a problem that I'm like going to criticize about the show. It's just like a thing that makes me somewhat less attached to it. But it's obviously like a really great show. The way that it like builds comedy by sort of like, I don't know, pulling you in so that like over time the same things become like funnier and funnier because you get them and you notice like more and more jokes because it's like really packed. Obviously it's really great. I don't know why I need to like explain that Arrested Development is a good show. The final show on my list is Flight of the Conchords, which is probably one of the most like comforting shows I can think of. When is it? Maybe it's from 2007. Maybe it's not that old. I can't remember. So Flight of the Conchords, they're like a folk comedy band. You probably know that. And the show is about them like living together and like trying to be successful, but no one likes their music. Something I find weird about the show is that I feel like it doesn't have anything like mean-spirited or angry or like politically critical about it or anything like that, but I still really enjoy it, and it doesn't bother me that it's so kind of like sweet-natured. For some reason that just like really works in the show and is perfect. I think like sometimes when I've been feeling really bad, it's like one of the only like things that just like makes me feel like, you know, immediate improvement in mood, so it's a good thing. Did I have anything else on my list? Well, I was trying to think of like the worst comedy show, but I think like I watch more genre shows, so I feel like I'm more aware of like bad genre shows than I am bad comedy shows, because I don't really watch that many comedy shows. The ones I like are just so good. But I do not like the show Portlandia very much. I like continue to watch it, so I guess it's like watchable, but I find it frustrating because I guess it just doesn't fit my idea of what's funny. Like, I don't like when people talk about things that are supposed to be good in the show, they just like don't make any sense to me. To me, it just seems like it's just like, I feel like most of the time it's just like complete reference humor. So the idea is just that like talking about something that people know what it is, it's just like already funny just because you did that, and to me that's pretty boring. And then like the other kind of humor they do seems to just be that they'll like do something really whimsical and over the top, and that's supposed to be funny, but there's actually no joke. I also don't feel like the sketches end very well, if I'm remembering right. I mean, obviously I compare everything to Mr. Show, and like I feel like in Mr. Show like sketches end really well by like going into each other, but they also just like, I don't know, they hit like a really good peak. And in Portlandia I feel like they tend to just end badly. Like I think there was like the early sketch where like Fred and Carrie are supposed to be arguing with each other about like whether they like read different articles or something, you know, and that was actually like, I feel like fairly funny in the way it was done. And then it has like the terrible punchline of them getting hit by a car because they didn't read the stop sign, and it was just like face palming for the rest of my life, and I was really disappointed. And I feel like even the sketches that are supposed to be funny have those like I don't know, really on the nose punchlines, and it's like, why is this happening to me? So, I mean, I will probably always watch it, so maybe I shouldn't be complaining. So, yeah, the two worst shows that I can think of are set and filmed in Portland, so I guess I should never go to Portland, and that's my final word.